let's wrap this bad boy up, and then I want your final thoughts on the topic. So I'm talking to my friend Erik Malin. We're talking about ending the 60% waste, the radical shift trucking needs right now, and we talked about this waste that is in our system that we don't really track. We track miles, not time, and I think as an industry have come to the realization we don't have a driver shortage. We have a utilization problem. And by the way, I believe that the driver turnover is, at least we didn't get into this, but at least part of that driver turnover is because of these guys say, this is crazy. I could be making more money as working in a warehouse or going back to construction, or if you're willing to drive a truck all day, you are willing to put an honest day's work in. And there's a lot of companies that want you. In the past, it might have been, well, you don't have a college degree. Nobody cares anymore. And by the way, there's drivers who have college degrees.
There's a lot. Yeah. I've met a lot of them that have college degrees.
So I think they're probably a very valuable group of people. And they look and say, yeah, I worked all day, but I only got paid for my miles. How many days am I not getting paid properly for my work? And I think, depending on what type of work they're doing, I think there's a lot of drivers that say, I don't have that problem. But I guarantee there's a big chunk of the market that is suffering with this 60% waste, because that 60% waste, a lot of it comes out of their pocket, wasted days. So we talked about detention. A lot of times detention is you get the first 2 hours free. And as you pointed out to me, it's not free. Somebody is not being a productive member of the supply chain, and they're not getting paid. So it's just dead space. And if you're the driver, you're like, the first hour and 59 minutes, I get paid nothing. Only when it ticks over to 2 hours, I'm paid. And you've said this, we really need a paradigm shift, which is to go and actually measure this 60% waste. And again, I've said it, I didn't make this up, but what gets measured matters. And conversely, what doesn't matter doesn't get measured. And right now, we treat that time that's wasted. We don't measure it. We don't talk about it. You're the first person who's come on my podcast and said, we need a paradigm shift on this.
Isn't that wild? For just a moment, though, I
talked to the guys from AI Fleet, and I think they kind of look at it similar, but not the same.
They have a similar belief, but it's still rooted in miles. I'm a fan of theirs. Obviously, we don't fully agree with everything that the way that they're approaching the problem. Otherwise, if we did, there wouldn't, we'd go and try to work at AI Fleet rather than starting Tetro. But at the very least, I think that what they're doing is important, and I think highlights the fact that we're not the only ones pointing out that there's a problem. It's more specifically the approach that it differs. But I think that it's fascinating to me. Not I think that it's fascinating to me. It is fascinating to me that I'm the first person that's come onto your podcast that has said,
yeah, we've got 800 episodes.
Why is it happening that there's never been anybody that's talked about time in trucking? It's always miles. And it's $1 trillion industry.
Yeah. Well, and I know you guys are still new. This is why this is such a valuable venture. I know you guys are still raising money, and I think that's going to interest a lot of people, because you're talking about saving a lot of money, or wrong way to say it, identifying, at least being able to capture where the dollars are wasted in a massive industry. And again, many ways you can look at a factory. If you and I ran a factory, we can manage every station, right? We got a guy putting a screw in a piece of metal. We got somebody who's putting a piece on whatever they're doing. We're doing time studies, and we're saying what's appropriate. I don't want to go too fast so they can't have the right quality. I don't want to drive anyone crazy. Then as soon as the product leaves my factory or my distribution center, we go, it's out of our hands. It's crazy now. We all want and actually demand on-time performance, but that's kind of where it ends. I don't think we say I want it to be on time, but I'm not going to pay close attention to all the lost time that is in the system.
Well, I think that at the end of the day, the fact that that's been the case means that there's a company here for us to start. So
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So put a big old bow on this one, Eric. Final thoughts on the topic, and tell us where you think Tetro will be in 5 years.
oh man, 5 years in startup land is like
Three,
17
3 years.
decades. So final thoughts on the topic. I think that, and again, we spoke about this throughout the entire podcast, but the fact that the industry has this 60% leakage of the inventory that it sells, which is not miles. Trucking sells time, it just charges in miles. The fact that there's this 60% leakage of time, but it is never been quantified or explained by the industry at any point in time says a lot. And the reality is that impacts the most common job in America. It suppresses the earnings potential for the most common job in America. And it also means that this vision that we all have for an autonomous future, where these trucks that are powered by this really advanced, incredible technology are just nonstop moving, is not, that vision's not real.
Blunted.
Yeah. And the way to fix this, you have to build this data asset. And so that's what we're doing.
Yep. I love it. I love it. And who knows, we always say that somebody said on my podcast, trucking doesn't move on diesel, it moves on data. And I was like, yeah, there's something to be said for that. Obviously it moves on diesel and data, but more and more we expect to have that data. And I love what you said about the autonomous. We expect this, this fully automated supply chain, but we're going to find out that, boy, it shows up to be loaded and doesn't get loaded for a few hours, and you go, oh, okay, the whole system kind of breaks down. And by the way, I'm also convinced that we're, I don't know how far away we are from autonomy, but right now we have drivers who consistently quit this business. Driver turnover is just something we've accepted for a long time. And by the way, some young man, a friend of my daughter's years ago, said, "Hey, Joe, can you get me a trucking job?" I said, "I thought you were in college." He goes, "I don't know what I want to do. I don't know what I want to do, but I think I want to buy a truck and I want to drive." I go, and I said, "You can't smoke weed." And he goes, "I don't." And his mom owned a dispensary. That's why I said it. And he goes, my mom does. I said, but I said, he lives right outside Ann Arbor. I said, "I'd rather you go get a cybersecurity job. There's all sorts of cybersecurity companies in Ann Arbor. Just go there." And I remember him going, "Yeah, well, can you get me?" I go, "I could get you a job easily. There's a lot of people looking." I go, "But I'd rather you check that out." He works in cybersecurity. And by the way, that's in a way a little embarrassing that you work in an industry where you don't want to recommend somebody take that job. And by the way, there's a lot of very good driver jobs, but you're not assured you're getting one of them.
Yeah, I think, not even I think, but it is a remarkably demanding job that, broadly speaking, is not treated well. I mean, and that's part of the thing, is that drivers are generally considered second-class citizens, and how much money you make is a massive input into whether or not you're considered a second-class citizen.
Dude, and also I say this all the time. We talk before we hit the record button. You got a little one at home, so you can skip by on 5 hours sleep. Drivers are oftentimes, I think the average sleep if they sleep in their truck is 5 hours. And then you're expected to be alert and a safe driver. This is incredibly demanding work.
Absolutely, it is remarkably demanding work. And I think that there's an interesting thread on too, and the fact that there's this implicit assumption that when autonomy arrives, that the supply chain will just move freely and there won't be any downtime, is effectively saying we believe all of this to be the fault of the driver, which is remarkably wrong.
Right. Yeah, there's old rules in automation. I've saw it done the wrong way and the right way. A lot of times people would automate something in a factory, go, oh yeah, we're going to automate that because we have a quality problem there. And what you realize is we don't understand how the part should have been designed. So automating it doesn't make it right. And the American automakers learned this from the Japanese, that they were quick to automate a whole bunch of stuff and then realized we weren't doing, like, didn't even automate. In fact, that function didn't even need to happen. And I just finished the Elon Musk book with, and he talked about this. He started with automation at Tesla, and then at some point when he wasn't meeting his production goals, started de-automating the facility, and he blamed himself. And so the whole idea that you just go, automation is going to fix everything. No, it makes it worse. It makes it worse initially. You got to figure out what the function actually needs to look like. And again, I'll use the same example. A pit crew changes 4 tires, I don't know, in 15 seconds, 30 seconds, because the driver's time is valuable. Our driver's time, not the least bit valuable. You can say, no, it's very valuable. Well, we're treating it like it's not valuable by letting people
Correct.
sit.
It's not valued.
Yes, 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 exactly.
Yeah, I mean, that's entirely true.